Looks like Gordon's back as the engine of focus in this episode, and he looks just as thrilled as he always does, frowning. Why this time? Because he felt Sir Topham Hatt was allowing an injustice to occur. For what? Well, he just didn't think branchline diesels like Boko or Daisy should be pulling mainline trains. When really, it wasn't because Top Hat wanted this to annoy Gordon, but for a more logical reason, actually.
Thomas's branch line is important, and so is Edward's. But their track and bridges are not so strong as those on the main line. The Fat Controller does not allow the heavier mainline engines like Gordon to run on them.
Now this may sound like the reason as to why Gordon was upset, but in fact, he didn't like branch lines to begin with. The idea of another engine taking his work was really what ground his gears. Did anyone catch that watermill motif, by the way? Very pretty. You know, you won't be able to run the Express all the time, Gordon. Someone at some time will have to take your spot because you won't be available. As a matter of fact, this has already been done in other episodes like Thomas's train. He's a branch line engine. You can't win, Gordon. Edward, who was listening to Gordon lament, didn't feel it was an issue.
I won't run on branch lines. Why not? Would be a nice change. The Fat Controller would never approve, huffed Gordon. Branch lines are vulgar.
This most likely explains where Gordon's distaste for branch lines come from. After all, he takes the Express, which is way more significant to him, while Edward worked the local branch line. Gordon better watch out, though. He's already headed towards Gordonism territory. Every night, both Edward and Gordon took those trains from Knapford Station. But of course, with Gordon making himself all high and mighty, trouble reared its ugly head. A woman wearing a floppy green hat was on the platform, but Gordon's fireman took it as a green flag for go.
Right away, mate. He thought the guard had waved his flag. Gordon started, leaving luggage, his passengers and the guard all standing on the platform. Everyone was very surprised and cross.
Yeah, well, we all know whose fault that was. That everyday life of an engine on Sodor, full of mishaps and miscommunication. It happens, Gordon. That wasn't something I'm going to bash him on because that had nothing to do with what he was discussing before. But because he started early and that caused further delays, Edward went first. Except the signalman didn't change the junction switch, which led to the two engines having a role reversal.
He sent Edward along the main line. Gordon was sent along the branch and arrived cold and cross on one of the sidings near the harbor.
If anything, that's what Gordon deserved, having to go on a line he swore he'd never take. Oh well, at least the branch line bridge managed to take his weight okay. Otherwise, he and his train would have never finished. I just would like to know, where was the communication between Knapford Station and the signalman? Does anyone talk to each other? Firemen mistaking floppy green hats as floppy green flags? Signalmen sleeping on the job? What next? Early morning came and Gordon was still at Knapford Harbor. Guess who came by to play more games? Those guys. They began jabbing him indirectly, talking about him, saying how it couldn't be him, since he felt branch lines were vulgar. The idea they came up with next is hilarious.
If it isn't Gordon, said Ben, it's just a pile of old iron. We'll take it to the harbor and dump it in the sea. Gordon was alarmed. I am Gordon. Stop, stop.
Oh my gosh. What is with these two and their sick senses of humor? That and Gordon's reaction is fantastic. As if Bill and Ben didn't know who you were. Those misaligned eyes gave it away for sure. Still haven't fixed those yet, huh, film crew? Luckily, to Gordon's relief, Boko arrived with trucks for Bill and Ben, and made sure they knew if they didn't leave Gordon alone, they wouldn't get their trucks. Naturally, they listened to the Green Bean Diesel and left at once. Well, looks like Boko took control of them fairly quickly. Gordon should learn a lesson or two from him since he made it look so easy.
Those little demons, how do you do it? Oh well, said Boko, it's just a knack. Gordon still believes that Boko saved his life. But we know the twins were only teasing, don't we?
Okay, so forget what I said about Bill and Ben being gullible. If Gordon truly thought the twins were going to dump him into the sea, then he is really gullible. This episode was entertaining. It does reuse the whole Gordonism formula with an engine creating said type of situation, but it's done slightly different this time. Gordon does get backhanded by his own hubris, but it's not done so in his face. The mistake of leaving early because of an object misinterpretation wasn't his fault. He went because his fireman thought he was clear to go, although that wouldn't make any sense if nobody boarded yet and if he had checked the time. Still, not Gordon's fault. However, what he got in return for that indirect error was him taking the exact rails he felt were not for him. As for Edward, it probably never mattered what line he took. Edward does whatever comes to him with little to no fuss. The best section of this entry is the ending where Bill and Ben come up and start harassing Gordon. These two pipsqueaks really know how to mess around. Then again, these two are no match for Boko, who has seemed to find a way of taming them. Again, he's not given a whole lot to do, but he at least has gained the respect of Gordon now, which is a definite change, considering Gordon would not have even thought of looking forward to a diesel coming to his rescue. Music was also good for this entry. Only one new tune was heard, and that was the iconic Watermill, now well remembered in the show. There's also the busy station and Edward's theme. Set pieces have taken on some new features too. We get some regulars like the Branchline Bridge and Knapford Harbor, but the real difference is in the nighttime shots for some areas like Knapford Harbor, Knapford Station, and even the viaduct of all things, which seems to be still under construction. This is most likely not a story many would fondly remember, but it is a good one. Next episode is Edward's Exploit. Thanks for watching.